In the spirit of talking about anti corruption across the world on this channel, it looks like anti corruption protests have erupted in Nepal. And we're going to be learning about that in today's video. Link to the original videos down in the description below. If you like the commentary and discussions that I do here on this channel, consider subscribing. Welcome. Let's get into it. Oh my God. That is crazy. That is so much smoke, and I'm assuming if it's that much smoke, the building is pretty large. It's got to be. Um, there's just no way. I think the only other thing that can make that much smoke that isn't a big building is like a bunch of tires, but you would see the flame from the tires. So for those watching, what is this building? Because that is crazy. Yeah, you can see obviously it's a building, but one of the things I want to notice, which is really consistent so far, what we've seen in a lot of protests around the world, a lot of young people. And you know what's funny is like I think like the perception of young people in America is so much different than the rest of the world. So when I even try to understand younger generations, it's hard for me to even get a glimpse because in America, they're so like, not to be mean, but their brains are pretty messed up from all the iPads. And so, and the brain rot. So it's hard to really understand what's going on in the younger generations and what they're passionate about, what their dreams are, what they're striving for. What is the things that are holding them back? Like what is the future that they want? And so it's hard to gauge that. So if you're somebody in Nepal, like obviously this is anti-corruption, but really what does that mean? Like it because in the sense, not that I like what is corruption? I know what corruption is, right? But what does it mean to overcome that corruption? What is it that you really seek for, right? Like when we look at the Indonesian corruption, one of the frustrating things for Indonesians, right, and the protests in Indonesia is that Indonesians know that they have so much potential that they can achieve because of just the geography, the diversity in their people, the work ethic of their people, the natural resources that they have all around them, right? And the fact that they have allies everywhere, right? It's not like they're alone. But the only thing holding them down is corruption. The only thing keeping that potential from reaching the top is corruption. And so that's why for like Indonesians, their protests are to finally get to where they deserve to be. And so for me, when I'm looking at this, I want to know what does those protests hope to achieve? Like what is the future that you hope to have? Like what is the motivating factor outside of combating corruption? Because I always think it's always worth, protesting and trying to root out corruption and reform it. But what is the emotional side of it? What is the soul part of it? You know what I mean? Which I know I'm yapping a lot. We're only 7 seconds in, but typically on my channel, I like to talk about the countries and learn about the culture and everything about that. Like, for example, Indonesia. Before we talked about the protests in Indonesia, um, I'm using Indonesia as an example. Obviously, this is Nepal, but I use an Indonesian example because like I was covering things that I found interesting before the protest happened. So then I then cover the protest. Whereas this, I'm covering the protest first because I feel like a lot of you in my audience really want me to talk about more global news, and I'm fine with that. But I still want to explore the countries as well and learn about the countries as well. So if you're watching, I actually put up a poll on my community post asking how many times you want me to talk about the news. If it's every day, that's fine. I'm totally cool with it. As long as I get to talk about more, like the culture, the history, and not just the news. Because again, I'm not a journalist. I'm just a guy who wants to create spaces for conversations. So I'm willing to meet you in the middle, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's get back into this. Destruction to reconstruction. Destruct, deconstruct to reconstruct. I don't know why I jumped so many, jumped so fast. That's a very powerful saying, by the way. Gun? That's crazy. That's kind of interesting. In America, so one of the things about America that I think a lot of the world needs to understand. When you see protests in America, don't ever really take them serious at all. Because Americans protest everything while standing for nothing. And well, not all Americans. Typically those on the left, right? The more like the Democrats of the country, right? Because they'll protest anything because they just like complaining. So when you see protests, they usually mean nothing. I say that to say it's so interesting seeing protests around the world have so much meaning and so much passion and so much camaraderie and so much community behind it when I live in a country that technically is more fortunate, but still people want to complain. Does that make sense? Like, it's always been so frustrating for me, especially recently, as I'm starting to cover more of the news and talk about it, is like America is so blessed. We're so fortunate compared to the rest of the world that having an entire political party built on complaining is just it's insane. It's kind of crazy, and I understand why a lot of the world just doesn't take Americans seriously. Sometimes it's because of that, um, and so this is why like it's empowering to see young people in Nepal standing for something. It's empowering to see young people in Indonesia standing for something. It's empowering to see people in Japan. We're going to be talking about Japan. We're going to be talking about France. Everybody's young people around the world are standing for something. Whereas the people in America, again, about half the country stands for nothing when they protest. It's just so crazy. Let me know what you think about that. Do you find it crazy? Because as somebody who lives here in America, sorry, I don't know why I found that funny. It's just so random. I guess it's not random because they're protesting, but the fact that they just have to out something that's very symbolic. This is very symbolic, but this is something deep about this. That everyone's celebrating, but then you like see the smoke in the background. You know? Very interesting. Kinda it looks like a government building, I'm assuming, right? Because of this if I would either guess that or like an embassy or something because of just how the entrance looks. Most government buildings look like this for some reason. Um, but what government building is this? So people telling people to stop and then others that are not. One of the things that I found, I guess this is my question for you guys, my Nepal viewers, I guess the new people from Nepal, watching this video is, by the way, I ask a lot of questions. It's not that again, I'm not a journalist and I don't know everything. So when I ask a question, it's like I actually am going to read the comments and try to learn from that. But one of the things I wanted to talk about and kind of my question is to use the example of the protests in Indonesia. One of the things that Indonesians are saying when they were having their protests is that there was agitators that were um, probably government undercover people because they were burning things that would actually benefit the people that makes no sense to burn. And so when I'm looking at this, is this the same thing? Or is this really that frustration that's really built up? Because I myself am not a big fan of destruction property, or like a destruction of your environment, your communities, and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell anybody what to do when they're protesting anti-corruption. Does that make sense? So if that's what the country and the young people feel, then that's what they feel. But also just to know, is it the same situation that we're seeing across the world where you're having government and officials pretending to be protesters to throw things on fire and like make the protesters look bad, or is it really you guys? Like, and if so, why? Like, is there some symbolism behind it? Is there some bigger meaning behind it that maybe the rest of the world may not understand outside of just looking at it? Let me know in the comments. These are really young people. There was a literal child there, right here. You guys over in Nepal are being safe. Just like I said, I'll never tell y'all what to do when it comes to protesting or whatever it takes for you guys to get y'all to achieve the greatness and the future that you deserve. I'm never going to tell you what to do. All I'm going to say is please be safe. Okay. Always be safe. And whatever you do, because I do care. I don't think anybody should be hurt. Especially if you're fighting for a good cause. The primary source of corruption that you guys have seen. Oh, and actually, this is a better question. Actually, you can answer the other one that I just asked, but I think this is a better question. One of the things that I've noticed too, when I've kind of started learning about other countries and like corruption in other countries, corruption is it's not really a secret. And so I wonder if in this situation, was it corruption out in the open, or was it something that was happening secretly and then it came to the public? Whereas, like, for example, I use the example of Indonesia, it was kind of out in the open. And that's what was so frustrating, is because they see it happening all the time, all the time, all the time. And they're just like, they finally got angry. So I wonder if this is the same thing. Holy crap. That definitely looks like a very important building. Whoa. Oh my God. Which, by the way, I know I was talking about children and younger folks, but there is some older folks. Not to be mean, but like, older, definitely older people. Like, there's an older woman right here. I saw an older lady over here, but there's like women, children. It's like all demographics, which is pretty pass out the footage. But I found this really interesting that everyone's like, no, we're on the same team. Let's get saying that there's no police, there's no military, but everyone's relatively peaceful, even though like there's destruction around them. Like, there's a woman right here recording too, older lady right there. Kind of what I was talking about earlier. But that's kind of, am I the only one that notices this? As like an outsider looking in, everyone's pretty relatively chill and hanging out and celebrating, I guess, the victory in whoever it was that stepped down. Again, the next video that we're going to watch is going to be much more like a news report and really getting the picture. But I wanted to watch the actual footage first, because I think it's important. I think it's important to see what the people in Nepal are seeing first, and then see what these global media companies will say. Why are they just smiling? Some of these officers, you couldn't see because my camera's in the way. They were just smiling and hanging out. Nepali Congress Central Office. Is that y'all's Congress building? Yeah, and I think this is, you know what? This is where like we need to recognize that like one of the frustrating things again with like mainstream news media is they like downplaying things. And this is coming from like an American and seeing how American news media handles things. If an American news media were to show me this and try to say it's really not that serious, I'd be like, yeah, it is, because they burnt a congressional building. It's definitely serious. And so that's why I think it's always important to see the footage. Just unfiltered. I mean, obviously it's edited. I'm sure there's things that they want to show, but no commentary from the news organizations to try to paint a picture. I think that's why it's always important to just see what you can see. Did the politicians that you're protesting flee the country? Because I'm assuming Office of Attorney General? Y'all not playing around. Oh my god. Y'all not playing around. That they're saying it's a revolution. So this isn't protests. Is it a revolution or is it a protest? Is it both? I mean, technically, would a revolution would have protests, but there's a dramatic difference, right? Because protests can just be reform. I mean, earlier we saw a video where it says deconstruct to reconstruct. So why is it that the news media that we were seeing, like even the title of this video says protests? So is it a revolution or is it just protests? To me, it seems like a revolution because if you look at the fact that these buildings are being looted, that seems like dramatic change is coming. And the fact that you have such a giant variety of people, old, young, men, women, participating in this and celebrating what's happening, to me, kind of gives the impression that yes, this is definitely more of a revolution than just protests. See, again, again, not to be mean, but older people right here, young people. So the police station. So when we watch the next video, again, you should subscribe if you want to watch that next video. When we really start getting the breakdown of everything, if not, definitely let me know in the comments of what you think is like your recollect or recall of everything going on, because I'll try to bring that over to the next video. But when we look at the breakdown from the news reports, I'm going to remember police stations. I'm assuming police have something to do with this, because I say this to say again, I'm coming in completely unbiased, completely neutral in this situation. Well, I'm always going to favor usually the people, but I'm coming in with like someone who hasn't been blasted by propaganda, right? I'm coming in extremely fair. And so the reason why I say this police station is something we need to talk about in the next video for sure is because when we look at some of the protests and even revolutions, I guess, around the world, it's usually just the military or just the police and the military. You know, there's always like a very different combination, and it just depends. What's going on? What's going on there? Why is everybody running? Oh, is it a car blowing up? I was about to say. Yeah. Again, y'all be careful out there. Please, 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 please. Definitely want good health and good conditions found everybody. Please, please, please. Can I say something? I know it's going to sound kind of random, and kind of besides the point. This is probably one of the y'all have a great. I'm just going to say it. You guys have a great sense of style. This is probably one of the weirdest things to say, and I know this, but like everyone's so fashionable here. You know what I mean? I don't mean to make a joke, but like, because I know this is serious, but I just think it's so. As somebody who's on the outside looking at it, I'm like, man, y'all have such a better style than I do. I don't know. I try my best to have a good style, but the fact that y'all are able to have good style while protesting is something really, really impressive in my opinion. Uh-oh, was that police? Yeah, it looks like that. Wow. I'm gonna be honest. We definitely got to talk about this more. We're gonna get more informed on what's going on. I'm gonna be reading the comments and seeing what you guys have to say because this is, what's crazy. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just. I don't know what it is. This is huge. This is a huge event in the world. How is it though? It only has 80,000 views and 800 likes. This needs to be talked about more. What is it? I don't understand what it is with American media that we don't talk about. Like, obviously, we're not going to be able to. Every American's not going to be able to know about everything going on in the world. But this is kind of a big deal. um, like, I don't know. Like, this is, yeah, definitely not something to be taken lightly. And I'm reading here in the video description. It talks about police killed 19 people. I'm sure there's probably more injured. And the Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, has resigned amid demonstrations. Wow. Um, and you know what's funny? We were just talking about how American media misrepresents. Look, it shows the video says videos show violent unrest and anti-corruption protests in Nepal. But then when you look at the comments, is dear editor, chief editor, I'm writing to bring your attention in an accuracy in the title of CBS video. In the video is presented a protest against social media ban, and in reality, it depicts Gen Z youth protesting against corruption. Okay, the fact that you have this is why I'm glad we have you guys to really clarify, and that's one of the reasons why when I come into these things, I try to be as non biased or not. Again, I keep saying non-biased, but also fair, right? But I'm always going to be on the side of the people, 99% of the time. It just feels like corruption typically isn't the people; it's the government. But the thing is, it's like the fact that you have to have like WTF, we are protests for corruption, not social media ban. They're not burning government buildings because of social media. The fact that American media thought that was okay to even title is to me is even insane. Like that to me, that again, that's insane. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. We're gonna be covering more of it, but please be safe out there. Love you guys. Check it out on the next one. Bye-bye. This video is brought to you actually by viewers like you. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of my journey and allowing me to be a part of yours. Let's create new memories this 2025 on our road to 1 million subscribers. And with all that jazz out of the way, I just want to say thank you so much. I love y'all and enjoy the video.